Hello, everyone. All right. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Dr. Susan Plank, and just a couple of things before we get started. I like to do things a little bit differently here. So I know you're here. You might have questions. I'm a fan as long as I'll try to do my best to pay attention. If down at the bottom in the chat, you want to put your questions, I will do my best, which I usually try to do, is catch the questions as I'm going through the slides, because sometimes if you hold your questions till the end, there was something I said or a specific slide that sort of prompted the question. So I'll do my best to keep an eye on that. And like I said, so I want to be cognizant of the fact that a slide or something I'm saying might trigger a response, right? Or a question. So again, welcome. This is Metabolism Mastery, and we're going to try to unlock our body's potential, right? So if you have been suffering, you think, hey, my metabolism's awfully slow. Maybe you've been diagnosed with thyroid issue in the past. Something doesn't seem right. Your energy's off, your sleep's affected, your weight's not where you want it to be, no matter sort of what you do. You are in the right place. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to embark on this journey, and I think it's really going to be an eye opener. I've tried to make this sort of an unusual, we'll say, out of the box, right? Not your typical metabolism type information. In my experience, I've been doing what I've been doing for 30 years, and there's some very specific areas that are overlooked, especially when we're talking metabolism, getting the energy you want, the body you deserve, right? It's challenging, and it's also frustrating. So let's go ahead and dive in here. So there's different signs and symptoms, right, that your system might be overwhelmed. And so part of those, we're going to see that this is what we're going to discuss: the toxins, the blood sugar, and the microbiome. We're starting off with toxins, but the symptoms can be exactly what I started initially with. You're feeling fatigued, your body aches and pains. You might even have, which is always sort of related to thyroid, your hair is thinning or falling out. You just don't feel good. You don't feel like you used to be, and that stubborn weight, right? Moodiness, digestive issues, brain fog. And so the first area we're going to talk about is toxins. And it's something that really, truly is overlooked. And it is a shame to be so, because it's becoming more and more prevalent in the United States. So here we're going to see specific toxin symptoms, okay? Fatigue, a big one. It's just a big one. And it can be fatigue any time of day. It can get, worse as the day goes on. You can wake up just feeling like, wow, how am I going to get the energy to make it through the day? Maybe your mood, right, goes with it. So there's part of this that there's energy, and then there's motivation, right? And I want to look at those two sort of separately, because a lot of people are walking around or feeling guilt or shame that, well, I know what I should do, right? I should be eating this way, or I should be exercising, or I should be doing something, but there's no motivation there. And so I always like to separate those two out and tackle them differently, because somebody might be very motivated, but they just can't get it done. Okay. Hard to focus. I call this brain fog. Again, sore muscles and joints, trouble sleeping. Again, sleep is related by hormones in their interaction with neurotransmitters, cravings for sugar, and bloating and digestive issues. So with toxins, I want to start off with, typically, this is normally how hormones talk to each other. And actually, hormones are talking to cells. So hormones are usually produced in glands, and then the hormone is released and it's carried usually through the bloodstream, but it's carried someplace far away from that gland, some distant, and it reacts with the receptors on a cell or an organ, and it actually is a way to communicate. So a hormone actually is communicating with the cells or the organs wherever it's going. So in this example, you're going to see sort of that sharing of the message. You have a hormone coming in and it's released onto a receptor, okay? Only when that hormone can sit on that receptor is that message going to be shared. So what we start to see is when toxins enter our system. So this is where I need to backtrack just a little bit, because a lot of folks are under the assumption, well, you know what? I'm eating pretty clean. I'm really watching what I eat. I'm doing a good job. Uh, there is no question. There is no question anymore in my mind that every single one of us have an issue with toxins and are out and out toxic, in all honesty. It's coming through the air we breathe. It's coming in the water that we drink. I know cities and states are adding fluoride, but sometimes, there's still water alerts, and then you have to worry about the fluoride. Uh, think of the vegetables you're eating, and maybe you're eating the best, maybe you're eating organic even. But the reality of it is acid rain. The rain coming down on these vegetables are also changing the composition of the soil. So as this continues to happen, right, our food supply, our water supply, but it doesn't just end there. I have some clients that are very sensitive. They walk into a grocery store or one of the big box stores and they walk down the aisle where all the detergents are, which laundry detergents and cleaning agents tend to have a lot of sort of chemicals, air fresheners, right? Different things to make them smell better. That can really set them off. A headache, sneezing fit, right? So I know right from the start that that person has a toxicity issue. The smell of gasoline, if you're putting gas in your car, right? Most of the time now there's that little cup on there that fits over the nozzle. But if you actually get a whiff of gasoline and that can start a headache, chances are you have some toxins. And it goes into household products and cosmetics, uh, deodorants, right? Things that we're actually using on our body start to contain these toxins. Well, what happens is these toxins now become what's known as endocrine disruptors, where they start to block that signal of the hormone. And not only do they block maybe the production of the hormone or the receptor where the hormone needs to land, but now they're also junking up cell membranes. And so this is where we see, even if you think I'm drinking clean water, I'm eating the best that I can, we're seeing these cell membranes that the nutrients and water even cannot pass through the cell membrane anymore because of the buildup of toxins on the outside of that membrane. It actually is making the cell, the individual cells, the membrane sick. And so I want you to realize that once this starts and it's at a cellular level, the cells have to make our energy. The cells are what keep us hydrated. So you could be someone drinking, hey, I drink a ton of water. All I drink is water. But it now depends. That's great. Let me start there. It's great. But what's the health of your cell membrane? If you're fatigued, right, and joints sore and muscles achy and you're not sleeping well and, hot flashes, if it's that time of life for you, and sort of these other symptoms and you're drinking a lot of water, chances are that that water and nutrients and hormones are not able to actually get through the cell membrane or even talk to the cell to function normally, because toxins have now blocked the membranes and the hormone ability to communicate with the cells. So here you can see we have a very vibrant, right? Very vibrant. But as the toxins build up, and it's over a lifetime, right? You're not going to become, well, you can become pretty toxic in a short amount of time, but that's usually if you're working in a certain plant or you're in a certain environment that's very toxic. But as for eating, if that's where eating and food and perfume and cosmetics and things like that, it takes time, but it doesn't flush out easily. It builds up in our body, and therefore it's really a struggle to now get rid of it. Okay, so we can go from having vibrancy in our cells and energy to this slow meandering process of becoming more toxic, to where the cells are sick and now we ourselves feel sick as well. And ultimately then, I want you to realize that anything that does enter the body, anything that enters the body, whether we inhale it, whether we eat it, drink it, or if it's cosmetics that comes in through the skin, it's our liver's responsibility to do something with it. If the liver sees it as not natural, it's going to try. The liver's a big filtration system, and all the blood continually goes through the liver, and the liver has to filter it out. So I get very concerned when I do labs or look at labs and I see somebody's liver enzymes starting to creep up. Those, if you want to jot this down, it's usually AST, ALT. Those are the primary liver enzymes that are checked. If those go over, I'd say 26 to 30, now we know that the liver is really working hard. A lot of times the gallbladder gets blamed. And it could be sort of a sluggish, inflamed gallbladder, but in ways that makes it even worse, because if you've had your gallbladder out, now that bile has no way to sort of flush things and clean out the liver. So the liver, in its wisdom of trying to filter out these toxins that are circulating, it says, where can I put this stuff, right? I don't know what to do with it. You look at a label on a food, and you can't even read, the chemicals that are in there or the food colorings, and the liver's trying to filter all this up. Where do I put it? Right? And so where does the liver put it? It puts it in fat tissue. It repackages it and stores it in belly fat, right? Buttocks, hips, the areas that now add to our most dangerous fat is visceral fat, adipose fat. And now that starts to lead to even more health issues. Okay? Is this making sense? So it's toxins outside getting into our body, putting a burden on the liver, and as an sort of, nobody really talks about it, but now it gets put into fat stores. So sometimes when folks are trying to lose weight, you hit a plateau and you're like, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything that I've been doing for the last 3 weeks, and all of a sudden I don't lose weight anymore. The reality of it is your liver would have to remetabolize everything that, once it breaks down the fat, right? Fat's just stored energy. Once your body needs to burn that fat for energy, the liver now has to deal with it all over again, whatever it's stored in there. And that these days, and it's only going to get worse, unfortunately, is toxins. Okay? So next, let's move on to blood sugar. And so the symptoms of blood sugar. If you have, again, I'm big on labs, so I try to look at labs preventatively. Okay, so I have a couple slides on this. But again, if the liver enzymes if you want to write this down, or even if you have your phone and you want to take a picture of these slides, the liver enzymes, it was the AST and the ALT. If you go, and you pull up your labs, you want those definitely, I'd say no higher than 30. Okay. Between 26 and 30 is my cutoff. And trust me, I've seen them in the hundreds. So now we're talking about blood sugar. So if you get your blood sugar tested, it has to be done fasting. It has to be done fasting. If your blood sugar and your cholesterol, those two have to be done fasting. I know now they tell people, oh, with cholesterol, we'll give you a calculated score. It's inaccurate. It's not accurate. We need to have these done fasting so we get a really accurate response of what's going on in your body. So I'm telling you right now, if your fasting blood sugar level, your fasting glucose is over 90, we're cruising in the wrong direction. Okay? We need to rein that in. We need to look at blood sugar. If you get hangry, hungry, and then angry, if you miss a meal, if a meal's delayed, right? If that happens, right, then you got to pay attention. Chances are you have a blood sugar issue. Fatigue after eating, if you're one of those ones you have lunch and then you can put your head down on your desk, chances are it's something you ate at lunch. Okay, so we have to start to put symptoms, what you're experiencing, together with what we see in the labs when we look at the labs preventatively, and now we start to get a fuller picture of what's going on. If you really never drink water, okay, if you really don't drink a lot of water, now you're chronically dehydrated, and that is going to give you a blood sugar issue too, because you're going to have a lot more circulating glucose if your blood is not hydrated properly, and if your sleep's interrupted. This is, say you have a habit of eating a dessert or something at night, right? Maybe you're watching a movie, your favorite program, something like that. So you tend to have the habit of eating at the same time. Well, if you notice that, hey, I can fall asleep okay, but I always seem to wake up at the same time at night, that very well could be when your blood sugar is dropping. There's a couple of other things it could be, but a lot of times, if you're a snacker in the evening, okay, I'd say 6:30 to 9:30. If you're snacking in there, and even if you're not thinking it's a high sugary snack, but if it's, pretzels, potato chips, something like that, it can absolutely, as your blood sugar drops, interrupt your sleep. Okay? So, in my opinion, this is my opinion. You probably could search forever on Google and you're not going to find this. But when I put these presentations together, I do a lot from my own experience and looking at labs and putting programs together. And also, like I said, the symptoms, but I want to be preventative for folks. I don't want to ever be like, hey, we're going to kick the can down the road and worry about something later on. I want to be proactive. If you're motivated and you're looking for help and you're looking for a plan to feel better, then let's put it out there. Okay. Now here's in my experience, a blood sugar of 84, you're solidly in a normal range. And in my years of research and doing labs, for every point you go over 84, you have a 6% increased risk of becoming diabetic in your lifetime. So if your blood sugar is at 90, okay, 90 minus 84 is 6, but 6 times 6 is 36. And I'm telling you, it is routinely I see it, that people's blood sugar 90, and then the next year it's 93, and then it's 97. And folks send me their labs to say, hey, what do you think's going on? And we're seeing it year after year. Once it gets to 90, it really takes off. So that's why, in my opinion, we want to shoot for 84 as a fasting glucose. And so what you see here is now you see the red blood cells with the glucose molecule, but now we're at 90 and you see how many more glucose molecules there are, right, than when it was 84. The problem with this is the higher that blood sugar goes, once it gets to 90 and above, that means you pretty much constantly have higher blood sugar circulating. If you're struggling with your metabolism, if you're struggling with fatigue, if you're struggling with weight, okay, the more blood sugar that's circulating constantly, your body never has to switch over for energy to go to, remember what I said, fat is just stored energy. So whatever you eat, your body breaks down, your digestive system breaks down and turns it into blood sugar, which is glucose. And it circulates in the blood with the red blood cells, okay? When you need energy, that glucose is now moved into the cells to give the cells energy by insulin. But guess what happens, right? We already saw these sort of junked up cells, toxins, the cell membrane's unhealthy. It needs water to transport through. So now if the glucose is out circulating, but you have unhealthy cell membranes, this is exactly how insulin resistance occurs. Because the more glucose in your bloodstream, the pancreas releases insulin, which is a hormone that has to bind with the glucose to get it as energy into the cell. But the more this happens and the more sugar, right? And the higher the blood sugar, the more insulin's released, and your body just doesn't recognize it anymore. It becomes desensitized. Your cells become desensitized to, oh, there's always this blood sugar floating around, glucose, and there's always this higher insulin floating around. So now it requires more and more. So the person might eat more, which means then the pancreas has to produce more insulin, and it creates this vicious cycle. And therefore, the person can never get to the point where their body, their metabolism, their body's need for energy converts to burn what's stored. It's just always constantly sucking off blood sugar, right? Sucking off energy out of the blood. There's always plenty there until we can get that blood sugar lowered in a way that doesn't make you sort of crash and tired. When we can pull down your blood sugar, whether we do it through proper diet, supplements, if we can do it the more natural way and pull down the circulating blood sugar, we now have the body and your metabolism. Well, it still needs the energy. It will switch to start burning what's stored, which is the fat. Okay, I hope that makes sense for you. So again, folks, I keep trying to check any questions. Definitely at the end, we'll have time to do it. But if you have any questions as we go on, please don't hesitate. Okay. Okay, so what balances blood sugar? These are the foods. This is where I want you to go for. Start to look at labels. In the produce aisle, I want it crunchy. Crunchy. You got to use your teeth. Okay? You got to use your teeth. This is not something I want you to just drink. Okay? I know there's a lot of, your folks are doing your fiber supplement. I want you to get as much as you can with food. Food contains soluble and insoluble. So we want broccoli and we want cauliflower, right? We want Brussels sprouts and we want asparagus. Think crunch. Apples, pears, crunch. Anything you take in, it's natural and you have to chew, is going to have fiber. If you think of more along the lines of fruit, the riper a fruit gets, okay, a peach, you bite into it and it's dripping down your arm, but it's not really a crunch. It's just sort of softer. That's more sugar. even though it's natural. Okay? The more ripe something is, the more sugar it has, it will affect your blood sugar. So we're really looking for high fiber foods that help stabilize blood sugar. Legumes, beans, okay? These types of things. Lean protein, chicken, turkey, fish. Fish is the best. Fish is the best. Okay? Green leafy vegetables, spinach, collard greens, one of my favorite. Okay? Kale, crunch, crunch, crunch. Crunchy, right? The water, but again, it's not just about the volume of water. It's just not. It's about, is the water getting to where it needs to go? So this is, in my practice, this is why I actually now recommend, obviously before the pandemic, did everything in person. Well, with the technology and these smart scales, that now you can step on your scale, a smart scale, in your bathroom in the morning, and instantaneously I can get what's going on with your body. I can see what your visceral fat and your percent body fat and your weight. Out of everything, folks, your weight means really very little, if anything. But what's making up your weight, right? What is the percent body fat? What's your muscle? Ladies, as we age, we lose a lot of muscle. Guys do too. They're just more aware of it. What's your percent water? Virtually every single person I work with that wants to lose weight is dehydrated, and not just a few points. It's really dehydrated. Okay. So it's not just the volume of the water, because you can drink all the water you want, but if 15, 20 minutes from now you're running to the bathroom, that water, I can guarantee you, is not flushing through the cells. It's not making it through the cell membrane. So therefore now your cells are dehydrated, which truly means you are dehydrated. Okay. And there are wonderful supplements. Some new ones just coming out. The research isn't in yet, but the stuff that's coming in is pretty exciting. But there's some wonderful things that help stabilize blood sugar and start to bring blood sugar lower without having to go the medication route, right? Metformin and things like that. So my goal is always, what can we do naturally so we don't have to worry as much about side effects, and we can actually start to reverse the process. Okay. So insulin resistance, we did talk about this. So the higher the blood sugar goes, the longer it stays elevated. That is where we need, it's sort of like a lock-in key, right? If we have a molecule of glucose, we need insulin, and they connect. Insulin sort of comes and picks up the glucose, and until those two combine, can it move into a cell? Okay. You can have all the glucose you want, and the person can feel lousy, right? They have no energy at all because the glucose molecule by itself cannot move through the cell membrane to give those cells energy. So we need healthy glucose level. We need a healthy insulin level. We need them to combine and be able to move through the cell wall. Okay. So there's a lot of little pieces that we can pick up from labs of what's going wrong and what do we need to do about it to help fix the situation. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So next we're going to talk about the microbiome. So there's been, this is the more research that's done. So the microbiome, if you don't know, it's the bacteria, the volumes and volumes and millions and trillions of bacteria that actually live in our 30 feet of intestines. There's more bacteria. Like a lot of times people think, well, the digestive system, it's sort of true. We have an opening up here, we put mouth in and food in, and we have an opening at the other end. So a lot of folks consider us a tube, right? A tube in a tube. And inside that tube, in that 30 feet of intestines, there are more bacteria that make up our health and well-being. And now we're seeing personalities and our intellect there are more bacteria thriving in, or hopefully thriving in, our digestive system than we have cells in our body. It's absolutely amazing. So what we're seeing, okay, is when the diet is affected, if it's a poor diet, high sugar, fast food, deep fried, sort of, you guys know it, you guys get it. It's a typical American diet, right? Those things go in and we start to see methodically through the digestive system symptoms. So anytime someone comes to me and they have any digestive symptoms, anything at all, burping, right, bloating, they had their gallbladder removed, diarrhea, constipation, whatever it is, I always want to start at the top. What's the quality of the food going in? Next, we're looking at the upper digestive system. So we're talking stomach, pancreas, and gallbladder, right? Gallbladder, liver, and a lot of folks have had their gallbladder removed. So the gallbladder is going to give bile that helps break down fats. It's actually made in the liver, but if you happen to go out and eat fried chicken and French fries, there's no guarantee if you've had your gallbladder out that your liver is going to be able to produce enough bile at the moment that you're eating that meal to break down those fats. So now we start to see heart disease, diabetes, other things 3 to 5 years start after somebody's had their gallbladder removed. So food, what's the quality of the food? Can those organs, the stomach, right, pancreas, gallbladder, liver, can they digest? Can they actually break that food down into smaller parts? Can it be absorbed? Can the nutrients be absorbed out of it? So that happens in the small intestine. And then the large intestine sort of reabsorbs water, moisture out of it, and it packages it up to send it on its way. So, but the large intestine also has all these microbiomes, okay? All these bacteria. So it is important to me, if you've been on a lot of antibiotics and steroids, if you are now or you have been earlier in life, and it could have been when you're a kid or, you know, teenager or young adult, if you don't know it, chances are your microbiome took a hit. The latest research right now is if you have to take a course of antibiotics, at the same time you start taking the antibiotics, you better be taking a really high quality, billions a probiotic. In fact, within the first 2 days of taking a course of antibiotics, if you don't start taking a probiotic, that course of antibiotics is going to be detrimental to your natural microbiome. It's going to kill off that antibiotic and or steroids are going to kill off, okay, your microbiome. So I really want to stress this point because this is big in folks of any autoimmune disorder. Boy, that's they really throw steroids at it. And initially they start to throw antibiotics at it. If you're taking an antacid, whether it's you decide to do it on your own or you've been prescribed one, you get 2 weeks. 2 weeks is the length of time. I have folks that come to me, they've been on it for decades, at least years. It's supposed to be 2 weeks, and then the doc is supposed to do more work to find out why you need the antacid. The side effects for antacids are staggering. Okay, heart attacks from taking an antacid, men and women. So if you're taking an antacid, please reach out to me, please, because that's one of the top medications of, like, it just makes me so nervous for folks. Okay, pain around the belly. If you have pain around the belly button, so tonight you're laying in bed, start putting some pressure, go right around your belly button. Get in there pretty good, right? Don't torture yourself, and just go in a circle right around your belly button. See if there's an area that's sore, because that is a reflex point for your small intestine. Okay, so chances are, if you have some sensitivity there, we might have then some sensitivity inflammation going on in the small intestine, where all the nutrients and everything we want to keep your energy up is getting malabsorbed. Bloat, again, very, very common, high up, especially if it is gallbladder, you've had your gallbladder removed, you eat something fatty, under the ribs on the right side. It can even radiate to the back under the right shoulder blade, up into sort of the jaw and the neck. It can really be profound. But we have some great supplements to help support you if you're experiencing that, and try to save the gallbladder, okay? And then, like I said, end of the large intestine, we're looking at constipation, diarrhea, if things are sort of erratic there, right? And flatulence. So these are all symptoms, again, that they happen higher up, but it's going to make the microbiome really suffer. So polyphenols, research has really been done in the last few years. These are nutrients that are packed with antioxidants. So antioxidants are really very good, and polyphenol, a type of antioxidant that goes in and nourishes the microbiome. Okay, so if there's any inflammation in there, the individual, all these different, there are multitudes of types of bacteria that live in there, it's actually comforting to these bacteria, and it helps the bacteria heal and stay balanced. So I want you to realize that we have good bacteria as our microbiome, but you can also have bad bacteria set up shop, and you can also have yeast. So if you're one prone to yeast infections, if you have, and these are known as nosocomial infections, you can pick up in a hospital, or if you've ever had, you were visiting a relative in a nursing home, or had to stay in assisted living, maybe you had a surgery or something, you can pick up cases of more serious nosocomial infections. They are the ones that are really, you're seeing a lot in the news now, that they're being very resistant to any antibiotics we already have. So again, if we stick with natural, we can start to bolster our own, right? Keep it healthy, keep it clean. Let's go natural. Let's get the job done, and then keep the negative and the bad stuff at bay. Okay. So I wanted to give you very specific information. So there are a couple I'm going to share. This is Bifidobacteria lactis, and it's specifically B420. This one specific type of probiotic it's amazing. The research is really amazing. So what they found was they took a group of people and had them eat whatever they wanted. Okay, they just ate whatever they wanted. They didn't even necessarily clean up the diet, just eat the way you normally eat. And then they had them just continue to eat what they ate. But a segment of the group got this probiotic, okay, with this strain of bacteria. So this Bifidolactis B420, it's a strain of the bacteria. The one group got this, and nothing else was changed. Nothing else was changed. And the group that got this were losing 3 to 4 pounds a month just because they were taking this probiotic. And yet they didn't change anything else. And no, they didn't take blood sugar into account. They didn't worry about checking thyroid or B12 or any of these other things that can affect the metabolism, right? The toxin level, nothing. All they did was add in a probiotic. Okay, so these probiotics, it's really I honestly think it's going to be the medicine of the future, the more we find out about our microbiome and how to support it. So another wonderful one is Akkermansia muciniphila. It is fairly new. This is going to be, it's more expensive. The research hasn't really gotten there yet. I'm keeping my eye on it, but what I've seen so far is really very exciting. So you have some companies sort of getting getting this probiotic out there. We don't know yet if it can do everything that it says can be done, but this can actually help with blood sugar, and it actually helps heal the cells and the rest of the microbiome in the gut. So this has a very soothing. So when you see that mucinophilia, mucin means it's producing like it's a mucus, right? So it's going to coat and allow the cells of the digestive system and the other microbiome in there, it helps those flourish. So not only is it helpful in and of itself as a strain, right, of a probiotic, but it helps heal the other bacteria involved in our microbiome. All right, excellent. So 5 foods that promote healthy gut. All right, we pretty much did this. Lean, right? Lean protein, specifically fish. Fiber, crunchy vegetables, right? Crunchy vegetables. Fermented foods, right? Fermented foods. And the green leafies. Okay? All those you will find in a Mediterranean diet. All those. Now, while the Mediterranean diet does pull in some gluten and some dairy with the feta cheese, those are 2 things that tend to be sort of highly inflammatory. So I say that with a word of caution. I typically recommend the Mediterranean diet, and then we watch the cheese, the feta cheese, and we watch, you can see some croutons in here, but we watch that, okay? We watch the gluten until we know about the person's inflammatory index, if it's a problem. But if you're looking for something, you're looking for a diet to try that helps get your metabolism going on many different levels, this is it. Mediterranean diet. It's going to help, right? Limit toxins. So that's again, toxins. They're getting in, but we need to limit them, and we need to sort of flush out. We need to get rid of what's in there. So we need to look at sort of hormone receptor detoxes. We need to do a regular detox program. All right. When we're looking at the microbiome, look at this. It's just such great food that helps support the microbiome, and also it helps support the healthy blood sugar. So the Mediterranean diet really has a lot to offer to help nourish you if you feel like you're sort of hitting the wall energy wise, or you can't lose the weight. And it's a much more balanced diet than what you're seeing now with people like, it has to be keto or I'm going vegan, right? I mean, it's one extreme or the other. It's let's have some common sense about this, and let's approach things very methodically of what works. So there is a link between, obviously, diet and disease. And the research that we're seeing when somebody doesn't have the best diet and the microbiome has been sort of knocked back, and the blood sugar gets too high, potentially insulin resistance, we're looking at heart disease, right? We're looking at the increased risk of diabetes. So it's really sort of crazy, right? That, let me go back to that. Let me share this with you. Let me go back to the example of the blood sugar and getting your blood work done year after year, and yet your doc might not be saying anything to you about it. But if you're listening to this and you have, you can go on your portal and pull off your labs and look sort of historically the last few years, and you know that every single blood sugar glucose was done fasting, I want you to go and look at those and see how long. Do you have 3 years, 5 years, maybe you have longer than that. If those glucose blood sugar levels are increasing and every year they're getting higher, guess what's really scary? The medical profession says, oh, well, 99 and less is normal. 99 and less. Well, wonder if 5 years ago you were 87, and like I said, now then you're at 90, and now you're at 98 last year, right? And it's been creeping up every year. Again, I look at things more logically. Let's catch it. Let's catch it when it went from 88 to 90 or 92. Let's not wait 3 to 4 more years and let it just get higher. And as soon as it magically is 100 or higher, then it's a problem. Oh my gosh, now we have to do something. Now you have to lose weight. Now you have to, and now they want to start with the medication. In my opinion, if they're paying attention, this is happening. It's happening over time. And yet they're doing the lab, but they're not looking at them preventively. They're not helping you out to say, hey, this is a little concerning. Let's have a plan. They don't have a plan. And so that's what I want you guys to realize. Once you go over 90, boy, it can take years to get to 90, but once you go over 90, it's usually pretty quick. It's usually only a couple of years that it's over 100 and now you're pre-diabetic. And then you zip through that even quicker to become diabetic. And it's all because of these underlying factors that we're talking about tonight. So I hope this makes sense, right? I hope it makes sense to you that if we see a pattern, if we start to understand the symptoms, why wait? Right? You're here, you want the knowledge, but in my opinion, clinically, professionally, why wait? Let's do something about it now when we actually still can reverse it. So this webinar, it's been Metabolic Mastery. Again, detoxification. If you've never done a detox plan, man, it's really good. I try to do 3 to 4 times a year, honestly, and I eat pretty clean, but I'm telling you, every time I notice a difference. Every time. I'm not saying you have to do one as frequently as I do. Please don't get off this call and go to Google and look up, or Amazon and buy a detox program. Let's be smart about it. Let's look at changing the diet, right? Well, it's a right way to do it. So if you have questions, definitely put them in the chat or reach out right after the program. Blood sugar. So back to detox again. Again, the labs, just so you know, AST, ALT, under 30. I'll tell you, under 30 for you guys. I'm a little bit more stringent with my clients. I try to get them under 26, but under 30. If they go above 30, or you've already had your gallbladder removed, chances are you have a toxification issue. Blood sugar ideal number 84. Try to get that fasting glucose level at 84. Okay. Rarely right now is insulin being tested for in my clients. When somebody comes in and wants to work with me, I have a weight loss program starting in April, and I do a really nice set of labs because I want to know these numbers. So we check the short-term blood sugars of fasting glucose. Longer is you might hear about it, it's called hemoglobin A1C. That's hemoglobin A1C, otherwise known as HB with a dash, capital A1, small case c. That is your blood sugar being tested over time, and it's an average of the last 90 days. So your glucose, it might be elevated, but maybe you had a celebration, 3 days before that you had your blood sugar done. That can artificially kick that up. So for 72 hours. So again, if you're worried about your blood sugar creeping up there, the next time you're going to get your blood work tested and your glucose tested, be really, really good, right? I mean, really, really good for the 3 days before you get your fasting blood sugar done. That way you get a really honest, nice idea of where's your blood sugar. Okay, don't Don't celebrate, have a big celebration, birthday cake or anything like that, and then turn around and get your blood drawn the next day. Let's not do it. So insulin and hemoglobin A1C, those are tests that really are very helpful. I absolutely have had folks, it's heartbreaking when it happens, that their blood sugar looks okay. They've had their blood sugar done for years. They want to lose weight. They've struggled with trying to lose weight. Their metabolism's off. They come to me, we work together, we do the labs, and their hemoglobin A1C is actually so high, it's at a level that they're diabetic. It makes it so much harder when things aren't caught early. So the blood sugar, it just happened to be like sort of, again, in that medical range where, yeah, well, you're pre-diabetic and you got to watch it, where in reality, it was truly much higher than that for much longer. And they just happened to catch it on a good day that the blood sugar was lower. But that A1C is how we make that determination. It's nice to be able to have that comparison. And also too, the insulin allows us to see insulin resistance. Is that a problem? Sort of, are you a walking wounded person where your cells, the cells of your body are really struggling, and that's why you're fatigued, and yet you're so fatigued, but you still can't sleep well, right? You don't have the energy, and you can't lose weight. And then we definitely want to look at microbiome support by polyphenols, healthy shakes, supplements to help every step along the way. Control the blood sugar. Let's get you detoxified, and then let's build up the healthy bacteria. So again, these are part of a system it's how I work to help people. It's exactly what I look at to help folks that have really struggled to feel better and to lose the weight. And it's something I've built into every single one of my programs, is exactly these types of things, to look at things that might be a little bit more unusual or not necessarily considered in general practices. So again, if you're ready for a change, please, I invite you. We have a great, it's actually a free 14-day Sweet Freedom sugar detox. We're starting tomorrow. You still have plenty of time to register for that. And again, I have my weight loss breakthrough program starting in April after Easter. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I would love to answer if you have any questions. So let's see, please, if you have any questions, just put them there in the chat. Let me check that out. And I'm happy to answer any questions at all for you. And here's the information if you are interested. Like I said, we are starting tomorrow, Sweet Freedom. If you go to that link right there, or you actually go to my website, Norwin Wellness, under the resource page, you will see Sweet Freedom, and there's still plenty of time to sign up. And it's a nice little way to start to detox, at least detox from sugar and control your blood sugar. So, okay, folks, any questions, anything else I can answer for you? All right, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Take care, have a good night, and reach out with any questions you have. Bye-bye now.